Hey there, I'm Adam Buchanan, and you're probably wondering what are the best broadheads. Biggest topic we see on all the archery forums, Facebook groups. Everyone wants to know what is the best broadhead. I do have some perspective of my experience of what broadheads I have used, so let's dive into it. Let me introduce myself before we get into the broadheads. My name is Adam Buchanan, and I'm starting a podcast soon. It's called First Generation Bowhunter. Here's the thing, I'm a first generation bowhunter. I am self-taught. I had to learn everything by myself. I spent hours, days, years, not harvesting an animal, not getting any kill shots, just because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what equipment to use. I didn't know anything, and it was so much trial by error. So this podcast I'm bringing to you to help shave years off your learning curve to be a better bow hunter and also just get into bow hunting. So if you're like me, first generation bow hunter, you probably got a lot of questions. Probably do some gear stuff like this, talk about gear. I love gear, but that's not all there is to it. There's a lot more to it than just having a cool bow and broadheads. Let's dive into what you came here for, and let's figure out what is the best broadhead. First off, there's all sorts of different broadheads. There's mechanical, there's fixed, there's replaceable blades, there's all these different things. The main thing you want to keep in mind is there is going to be some trial and error. You're probably going to find your preference. I want to tell you my experience. So I first started on something like this. This is a mechanical expandable blade here. So the idea is it stays in that position as it flies through the air. Once it hits the animal, these come out, and yeah, it's a nice cut. Here's my thing with that. Love expandables. I think they're really great, and that's what I started on, and I killed a lot of deer with them. My only problem is you have one bad experience with these and it's kind of over. I was hunting and opening day, 9:30 in the morning, beautiful buck comes out, 4x4, friggin' in velvet, 20 yards, and I was just like losing my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Get a shot, and it was a long shot for sure, but I go retrieve the arrow, and my biggest nightmare had come true. My biggest nightmare was that the blades did not expand. And I found the blade, and normally when you find your arrow, the blades will be open. Like they'll be kind of like this. They're super wide, or they're finagled or something. When I found my arrow, they were like this. And I could tell that they hadn't expanded. I was sick about it. Amazing deer. I tracked blood for hours. I did everything I could to retrieve that deer, and I could not retrieve it. The blood was not good. It was a terrible, not happy about that. I think you have one of those experiences with expandables, and you're kind of like, it's hard. It's hard to go back to an expandable. So for me, I've shifted all into fixed. So you've got something like this. This is a G5 Montec, great fixed blade. I really enjoy this. Taking a lot of deer, these broadheads. A lot of people ask, does that broadhead fly like a field point? Here's the thing, this isn't a field point though. So there's gonna be different things happening with the blades expanding out. Don't get too distracted, because most companies, broadhead companies, are gonna say this flies like a field point. What you're really asking is all the hard work that I put into tuning my arrows gonna pay off when I put this on my arrow and shoot an animal? That's really what you're asking. So really what that comes down to is spending time shooting broadheads, getting them in the foam, getting that consistency, understanding where your arrows are going when you put different broadheads on them, and spending time. You don't just take broadheads out of the package, slap them on your arrow, and be like, yep, flies like a field point, it's fine. You've got to understand your arrow length, your draw length, your poundage, all these different factors play into how these arrows are going to fly. So don't get distracted when someone says, oh, it flies like a field point, you're good. You still have got to spend time putting work into practice. Then the other fixed point that I really like, the G5 Striker. It's a 3-blade. I really like it because it's got removable blades. So you can sharpen them, you can, you're not buying a whole new set of broadheads if one of these blades break. I've had that happen before, and now I just have replaceable blades, remove the one, put it back on, super easy. I've really enjoyed this. When you look at the difference here of, the cutting diameter, this looks really small. It looks very insignificant, especially when you put it up against something like a Trypan, which got a huge, really big expandable area. It is vicious. And anytime I've used this, I've never had a problem finding blood. And I'm talking really, really strong blood tracking. It is amazing. This has been good too. I've done the trypan before. It's just, you know, you have one of the experiences where this thing stays closed and for whatever reason, this thing does not deploy for whatever reason, makes you sick, because that is a very small cutting diameter when those blades don't open. This, it's guaranteed every time. So that's why I've shifted over to fixed. Do your research, keep learning, but also spend time, you know, shooting arrows and finding out what works for you. Thanks for joining on walking through different broadheads, different perspective. Watch for my podcast, First Generation Bowhunter. Again, if you're new at this and you're trying to figure out what's what, there's a lot going on. But I am excited to bring you what I've learned, and we can learn along the way together, because there is so much happening. There's so many things that have to fall into place for you to make that kill and harvest an animal. Thanks for joining, and I hope that helped. If this did help, send it to a friend. If you've had some discussions with your hunting buddy of like what broadhead you should use, send it over. They'd probably like to see it, hopefully. Like and comment, ask questions below of what broadhead you like to use, and let's have a discussion. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.